Hit it.
The internet, it sees us, Nathan. The internet.
All right, let me send out the tweet. Hello, Twitter.
Let's also just be
Hello.
recording remotely so we can just have a good track going. That's okay with you?
Yeah, I'm recording. I'm about 2 minutes in right now.
Okay, we'll sync real quick and then we'll do the whole everything else going on.
Got it.
Hello, internet. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, Unique New York.
Also, I need to I need to bring it up with you. Um, I know I don't mean to out you in any way, but I think you're comfortable talking about the fact that you're colorblind. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to know, at what point did you think that I had red hair? Is it because you're colorblind, or you just think I have red hair? Because I let it go because I want to have red hair, and I think it's great.
I don't think you have red hair.
Okay.
I'd say you have. I'd say you have more red in your hair than someone like me.
Yeah, well, that's
Like you
true.
have
I'll give you that.
beard in your
Hmm.
beard. Like
I have a lot
I,
of red in
I'm.
my
I
beard.
don't.
That is true.
I don't think you're like a ginger or anything. But I think I. What I'm saying is, I think you should live your truth.
Okay.
And I don't think you have red hair, but you do have a red beard. So I think that was enough of a reason to call you a red-haired king.
Okay, I'll take it. I let it run last time. I was like, I'm gonna see where this goes, but I just wanted to loop
Well,
back
you.
around and make sure.
Yeah. Well, honestly, like, I never even. Hold on. 1 second. I forgot to turn on my light. I never even thought about it until we have a mutual friend who always calls you Red,
Oh, yeah, that's
and I
true.
was like, and I asked that friend, I was like, "Why do you always call Justin Red? He doesn't have red hair." And he was like, "Yeah, but his beard is red." And I was like, "Yeah, well, he has red hair on his body, I guess." So
Do you know why I'm called Red?
no, I mean, I just assumed that it was because your beard is red.
So it actually is from roller derby, because my derby name was Orville Reffenblocker, and then it turned into Orville Redenblocker, and then it just shortened to Red, and so people called me Red. A little bit of the origin.
I mean, like, I'm not so like people confuse color blindness. Like, I actually can see red really well.
Okay.
I'm blue green colorblind.
Oh, you're not red green colorblind.
No. So
Okay.
like that like I can't tell if you had purple hair or blue hair, yeah, I might have trouble with that.
So can
Now
I
we know.
ask, have you tried the colorblind corrective glasses?
I have not, although they do not work on the kind that I have. I
Oh
have a
no.
very mild well, I have because my color blindness is so too mild. People think that color blindness is like either like a black and white thing or you can see full color, which I mean it is for many people, like, and the glasses are for people who really cannot see color, like hardly at all. But I can see 95% of colors and I can actually tell colors apart. It just takes me a little bit longer than most people on certain shades. Like blue and purple are the ones that are really that, and it's different than what people think. It's not. It's about like tones, or like it's about saturation too. So like I can tell like royal purple from baby blue, right? But baby blue and lilac, which are at the same saturation, I would have a problem with. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Okay.
I don't know. So, welcome to Chapel Bell Curve, a stats focused podcast about Nathan's eye disabilities.
Okay. So those of you joining us on the stream, we are joined here today by our friend who you may have heard from before on Twitter. If you're on Twitter at all and follow us on there, our friend Ross Rutledge, who is the founder, proprietor, the prospector, the museum curator of CBCR Squared, the actual stats nerd, the person who probably should have made this podcast, but we got there first. Uh, he's going to be talking to us a little bit about the methodology, what it is, the model, why it is, how it is, and tell you a lot more about it than we ever could. It's pretty
Yeah.
important, I would say, and that's kind
Well,
of yeah where we can get started, I
can
guess.
I can I give you some brief background for how we sort of got to where we are, and then I want to hand it over to Ross on the more the parts of these questions that only a smart person can answer. So Ross contacted me about doing some sort of, I think we were originally messing around with just very basic SRS stuff that we were doing in an Excel spreadsheet, and we were all updating it remotely. And I was on board and knew exactly what was happening. And then at some point, we got 2 or 3 other people involved, all of which were smarter than me. And now I'm on the private chat, and they say words, and I say yes, and then I put on the Twitter what they asked me to put on the Twitter, and now here we are.
Yeah.
So
that's
first of
that's
all, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here, I'm happy to be here and to talk more about stats and CBCR2. I think my recollection is that R2 grew out of an attempt to opponent adjust EPA. And
Yes.
yeah, so I started researching that and struck out a few times, and then took some cracks at it that were, in hindsight, quite poor. Then after an extended period of time, I kind of gave up on just trying to opponent adjust EPA and just went straight towards developing a model that actually predicted actual results rather than a descriptive statistic like expected points added. And everything sort of grew from there. It started from something that was very simple and basic, and has grown into something that is quite rigorous and good. That's how everything developed in my memory.
So let's talk about where we are in terms of CBCR. So
Let me
just
Nathan, before you get too deep into it, I would love to actually ask Ross who we didn't actually introduce Ross other than this is a person that exists, but I would love to know before we get too deep into stats, who you are, how you came to find, I guess, Chapel Bell Curve, and why is it that you are credible based on just kind of what you do in your day job, I guess. You know, why is it that you would know stats in the first place?
Right. Okay. So I'm actually an undergraduate. I have an undergraduate degree in history from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. And I went on to UGA to get my master's in public administration and policy. That's where I was first introduced to stats and rigorous linear models, which CBCR2 is. And from there, I went on to a career in DC, and I still am doing that. While working in DC, I got my second master's degree from Johns Hopkins in applied economics, where I built on the stats backgrounds and just actually fundamental math backgrounds that I'd already built up from my job and from UGA, from getting my master's in public policy and administration from there. And so, well, I'm an economist by training, and I work in a similar capacity in DC as an advisor, not necessarily as an economist. I work on this type of stuff on a day-to-day basis. That is, by this type of stuff, I mean statistical modeling and economic modeling. But I don't actually do the programming myself. That's handled by other people. So this has been a refresher course. It's been good for me to dust off the programming skills that I've learned in my 2 degrees at Georgia and at Johns Hopkins, and it's been a good refresher. I've really enjoyed it.
Awesome. All right, Nathan, hit him with a question.
All right, so let's back up from let's just start at the 10,000 foot view of what we're trying to do with CBCR and with TED and with all of this. So as you said, and I'll start, and then I'll let you sort of just go wherever you want with it. This is a model, right? It's a predictive metric, so we're trying to predict the results of games, like how teams would score against each other. And we are currently, I think, running 2 different models, if I'm correct. So can you sort of like give us some just like 10,000-foot view context for what we're trying to do here and what are the general statistical tools that we're using to achieve it?
Okay, yeah, sure. So let me try to tackle those one by one. So in my view, the model isn't just about predicting the outcomes of games or trying to beat Vegas or anything like that. As an economist, I'm actually skeptical that any statistical model alone would have sufficient information to beat Vegas on at least on an annual, year by year, consistent basis, because Vegas can incorporate more information through the use of betting markets, and we're not going to simulate a betting market. That's not going to happen here. What I've always known how these models work, and always been fascinated by them. I've always wanted to build one myself, actually. And I've tried in the past before BCR2, and that turned out to be not great. But so why I've always been interested in it is, I think I've heard someone, maybe it was one of you guys, or maybe another podcast, that someone say to cope with their anxiety, they try to consume information. So if I'm worried about the outcome of a Georgia game, I always go to the stats and try to find some way to believe that we're going to have a chance against Bama in 2018 or LSU 2019 or anything like that.
Yikes.
So I've always been interested in this type of modeling. I think it's besides the actual Vegas point spread, these types of things like ESPN, FPI, and SP Plus have always been more informative than really any other types of information that you could consume to tell you how your team stands up against other teams and how likely your team is to have a successful season and things like that. So to me, it's more than just predicting outcomes, but it also predicts outcomes. And you could argue that if you want to build something that's going to tell you how well your team is going to do throughout the season, then you should also be able to predict how they're going to do in the games that they play. So, yeah, that's sort of the first part of your question. And then I think the second part of your question is, what actually is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Kit, let me pause you right there. So let's talk about it in relationship to other, metrics that our listeners might be more familiar with. So like, and I want to apologize to everyone listening for the horrible state of my voice right now. So how does what we're doing here differ from something like SP Plus and the 5 factors or FPI, etc.?
So I imagine that it's sort of a combination of the two of those things. I don't have access to what's under the hood at SP Plus or ESPN FPI. But our model should be using the same information that they're using. In fact, it should be using a combination of the information that those two models use. As far as I know, ESPN FPI has at least two things going for it. It uses expected points added. It uses the simple rating system to make sure that, or to opponent adjust essentially the expected points added stats that they've developed. And I imagine that it includes other variables, but as you have noted in the past, actually in our chats, it's hard to find out exactly what's under the hood at FPI. I think our model might better compare to SP Plus. So Bill Connolly has the 5 factors, right? They are success rates, explosiveness, field position, and product, right? Did I name all 5 of them?
No, it's points per or finishing drives. Points per opportunity is the last one.
Drive. Yeah. Right. So our model has all of those things. And I think he actually calls success rates an efficiency variable. And what I think our model does is it actually updates and represents an improvement on how the model efficiency. And by that I mean we take into account success rates, but we also include expected points added, like FPI does. And we also include a variable that we sort of create ourselves. It's possible other people have it's not a complicated metric, and it's possible other people have included in their models, but we also include opportunity rate, or the percentage of a team's drives that end up in the red zone with an opportunity to score. So those two things combined mean that I think we have a more robust picture in our model of how a team, how efficient a team is at advancing the ball down the field and getting your team in position to score, and which turns out to be, in our modeling, pretty much the most important thing in developing a system like this, is to make sure that you have a good measure of how effective a team is at scoring in the red zone, and converting their opportunities to points, or for your defensive equation, preventing a team from scoring once they get down to the red zone, which is what Georgia is absolutely not so good at.
Yeah. So what's the state? Well, I know this, so this is a very leading question. So what's the state of our model? Like, how have we been doing? What is our first run through a college football season looking like right now?
So
in terms of our predictions,
the current state of the model is good, I'll say. We're actually retiring both the active versions of CBCR2 and CBC TED, because we've developed our own internal simple rating system, which is turning out to at least to predict better. It predicted better last week, and it certainly retrodicts better. But the model that we're retiring, the models that we're retiring, were 151 and 73 straight up because of CBCR2, 116 to 108 against the spread, with an absolute error of 12.87, and that's over 4 weeks. So that's very good, particularly that absolute error. And then CBC TED is 158 and 66 straight up, and 13 and 11 against the spread, with a 13.18 absolute error, which is also really good. These numbers are competitive with SP Plus and ESPN FBI and things like that.
Yeah, and just to be clear, to editorialize slightly, absolute error is the total number of points off of the actual score that our predicted score is, correct?
Right. Sorry. Yeah, absolute error is, let's say we predicted a team to win by 7, and instead they won by 11. We missed by 4 points. So our absolute error there is 4. And so the absolute error is the average of the error, the miss that you have in every game. And the reason it's called absolute is it's absolute value. So the values don't cancel out.
Right. Cool. All right. Well, I want to get into our little charity bet thing that we have going on, but what are we? And I'm kind of throwing this to you off the cuff, and I know we've kind of talked about this in our DMs, but like, what do you see the future of us? Like, what do you think we're going to be doing with this over the next season, and what's sort of your vision for how this is going to look going forward?
Oh, that's a good question. I think what I'd like to do next year is have a spot where we can publish it online. Hopefully I can build a program where I hit a button, it runs the model, and then it makes the picks, and then it publishes those picks to a blog or something like that, to minimize the amount of labor on my end and other people who might be helping or working on it. And then hopefully we can get it on the prediction tracker or the Matthew Index, and really get it popularized, and see if we can how we actually fare against these more seasoned models that have been around for a longer period of time.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because we definitely are going to need to talk off camera, because I have some ideas on the publishing thing. But,
Ross,
a
question for you too is: is there an accuracy goal you're searching for, or like a point at which you're like, yep, this is it, we've done it, we came and we understood the assignment, we did the thing?
That is a good question. I should set goals, other than be as good as possible. Obviously, you want to be over 70% at picking straight up. I think you want to hit 55% against the spread, even though that is a very difficult challenge. The main thing I want to do is minimize the absolute error. I want to be as accurate as possible. So I would sacrifice the other two goals to meet that goal. So I guess I should shoot for under 12.5. I think that's a modest goal for at least something this new.
Cool. Yeah, just curious for folks that might be looking, it's always good to have a good reference point. I think it's always really surprising when people hear that, like 60% is a good success rate for some of these models out there. Like that is really, really great. Winning that much, being correct that often, I think is a good point to understand for folks that might not be in the world of like sports betting or just statistical analysis and that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's finish up here. I know that we have come up with like a pretty cool little charity opportunity. Do you want to like sort of share what's going on with that and what we've been doing with the guys over at From the Rumble Seat and all that?
Sure, absolutely. So I approached Robert Binion, who runs, as you said, a column at, I think it's SB Nation, as you said. And he publishes a similar model to ours called the Binion Index that's doing pretty well. He doesn't publish his results straight up, but he claims that he's doing almost 55% against the spread, but he has a higher absolute error than we do. So I proposed a challenge. It's 4 parts: 1 point for straight up win-loss, 1 point against the spread, 1 point for having the lowest absolute error, and then 1 point for getting closest to the pen on the absolute error on the Georgia game. So whoever gets closest to predicting the Georgia Tech game right gets the last point. So we're doing it for charity. I am competing for Innovations for Party Action. It's a great nonprofit that works throughout the world, or throughout the developing world, where they use rigorous analytical methods, specifically randomized controlled trials, to evaluate the impacts of proposed policy innovations or policy interventions to help people. And they then, if they discover through their studying that the program works, then they start to scale it up throughout the world. And Robert is competing for the. I'm blanking on this. I'll have to look it up. He's competing for something like the International Rescue Committee. I think that's what it is. So the wagers between us, it's $100 for that I'm staking and that he's staking. But we also agreed that we would encourage people to check out those two charities, and if you feel so called, to make contributions yourself.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think we're going to try to get this up on the SB Nation blogs as well. Yeah, so do you have anything you want to plug? You want to give us your Twitter account? Anything else that people need to be looking at you for there
Sure.
before we get out of here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I obviously post on the Chapel Bell Curve account often. I put up our ratings, and we focus on some picks every week. And then I talk about the model a little bit less frequently, but I also talk about it at DogQuant on Twitter.
Sweet. Yeah. Thank you so much, man. Thanks for coming on. Do you have any other questions for him there, Justin?
No, thanks for doing this, Ross. I really appreciate it. And maybe we'll have you back on again before the season's over.
All right, man. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for having thanks for having me, guys. It was a real treat.
Awesome. All right. See you, buddy. Let's see. All right. So for those of you who are watching online, that was Ross. This is a segment to be added later in our actual recording, and we're going to record the actual podcast. Well, the rest of the podcast now. I say actual as though that wasn't part of it, and it was.
That was part of it.
Yeah, that we're part of it.
Before we get into that part, let's make sure we sync up, and then we can do the dang thing.
Mm-hmm. We can do the dang thing.
Talking about football. You know
about
what it
football.
is. Sometime we talk about football. I was trying to find any fun facts about Georgia Tech, but I can't find a single damn thing.
Oh, you can talk about the time where they wrecked their whole offense for the entire year in like the 1900s to beat us.
Yeah, that's true. The whistle.
Man, people keep trying to. I have several requests for a poem for this, and I just don't know what to do.
Okay, let me do it. I got you.
You got it?
Yep. I got this.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Damn, dude. You, when there
Does it
was
sound
only
like I was
one
just,
set
like-
of, when there was only one audio track, you carried me,
I got you, my baby.
Zaddy
Oh my
Justin.
God. This is an awful poem. And I feel bad saying that because it's all subjective. Sometimes people write poetry, though, and I don't know. Maybe they just shouldn't have written it.
Yeah.
Ooh, I have a good
Yeah.
idea, actually.
Yeah. I need your help because my body is
My body is weak.
rebelling. Yeah. The spirit is strong, but the flesh is spongy and bruised. This is great. We're great audio. Great.
Oh, great
video.
job. Great streaming.
Great streaming right now from your CBC boys. I'm sick.
I'm sick in a different way. Da, 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 da. I was trying to find a good poem about being like the concept and the idea of not thinking about somebody. About
Oh, I've got it. I got it. I got it.
okay.
I'm pretty sure I already read this poem on air.
Very good. Okay. Let's sync up and let's talk about football then, now that we're here. Are you
All right,
ready?
do it.
3, 2, 1. And I'm just going to launch right into this thing. Ha, 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 ha. Right at the top. The top ropes. Have a little bit of wine left over. Uh-huh. Yum, 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 yum. Yummy. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Okay. Hello, 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 hello. Okay. Are you ready, sir?
Maybe. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Here we go, right at the top ropes. Welcome to Chapel Bell Curve.
Okay. Oh shit! I thought it was me. Fuck. All right, let's try it again.
Welcome to Chapel Bell Curve, a stats focused podcast about UGA football. I'm Justin,
And I'm Nathan.
and we're back after a short hiatus because this past weekend mattered for, I guess, qualitative reasons. All the good, feely good things, you know, the Charleston Southern game. We didn't do a preview for you. We're going to do a bit of a review today, but it's really not going to be the bulk of the episode. We're going to kind of combine today's episode with a little bit of, a Georgia Tech preview as we all prepare our minds and our bodies for the next weekend, truly, which is the SEC championship game, which we're all very excited about. And I hope that you're excited about it too. But, we'll run through kind of what our experience was over the weekend because there were a lot of really cool, fun, fuzzy, warm feeling things that happened over the weekend. And I would really love to hear, your celebrity sighting experiences, Nathan, and how you touched Jordan Davis, I think, on his shoulder, perhaps, or, just kind of the things that went on over the weekend. Tell us about all the good feely things that you did.
Yeah. So obviously it can be tough, a game like this, because, the outcome's not really in doubt, but it was a very good experience last time in Sanford Stadium for a lot of people, seniors in the band, seniors, cheerleaders. And that was really cool. Well, as band members, so had a really good, really, really, really good battle hymn solo from Maggie, who is a senior soloist who went to Carrollton, actually, where I went. The battle hymn soloist this week, and I thought pregame went really well. The halftime show, we did the Armed Forces salute show that we do every year. I think it's the show closest to Veterans Day, and it was conducted this day on Saturday by one of our TAs, Gilbert, who was in the Marines, so he had his like dress blues on or whatever, and it was very impressive. And Gilbert's a super cool guy, so shout out Gilbert. And then after the game, of course, we had the big Jordan Davis thing. So I guess I can like talk about how it happened and came together now for the first time. So I kind of knew that we were going to do something for Jordan Davis like a while ago, like in September. And by kind of knew, I mean I absolutely knew, but I sort of sworn to secrecy on it because it was one of those things where like if it didn't work out, you didn't want anybody to say anything. Like if it doesn't work, and I know there were some like NIL concerns, like if you're giving him a gift or whatever, like how do you just running it through NCAA compliance or whatever. So we got the clearance to do it, and the way it broke down from my end was that I was the one who was running the soundboard, because we had to have it mic'd so that like Dr. Bockham, who is the band director, could read the plaque and say like Jordan Davis's honorary redcoat and hand him the jacket or whatever. And so we coming back from halftime, about halfway through the third quarter, I went with the props crew, the talented and lovely props crew of the Redcoat Band, and we got half of our sound system, this like 3 or 4 giant carts worth of stuff, and set it up at the bottom of the band. And it is legitimately the most nervous. That was legitimately the most nervous I've been this year at any game, which I guess really says something about how the season is going, because I knew that we had to have this mic right, and that we were going to look like buffoons if the mic didn't look right or work right, or if it sounded bad, or if it like messed up. So by the time the game was over, I had a wireless mic, a backup wireless mic, and then a wired mic. And I had just the wireless mic, the first wireless mic, turned on. And I had like an extra person there to hand him the second wireless mic if the first one didn't work. And then another person to run the wired mic over if that didn't work. And so it all went off without a hitch, despite all my fretting and the fact that I like checked the settings 1,000 times and went through like 10 times to see if everything was plugged in. And then on the way out, Jordan got, we're not on a first name basis, but he got down off of the podium. It was a really beautiful scene. I'm sure everyone's seen the video by now, and if you haven't, you should look. We made him an honorary redcoat. Only the second honorary redcoat ever. The only other one is Tom Jackson, who was the voice of the Redcoat Band. It's a real honor. We give him a plaque, and we had the band had a redcoat jacket made for him. We had to get his jacket size from Perno's, where he last wore a tuxedo, and kind of estimate, and then we had it special ordered and made at a factory, a uniform factory, where they basically had to like shut down production on everything else and run it through in like 72 hours, just the one jacket.
That's outstanding.
And yeah, and so the jacket number, if you're not in marching band, uniform jacket numbers are uniform jackets all have numbers on them, and his uniform jacket number is 99, and it's like in our database as 99. It's like the 199 in the database now. And so we got the jacket for him, but he couldn't put it on because he had his pads, right? And I guess he didn't realize that we were like giving it to him. So he was walking away as the band director was kind of chasing him with the jacket. So I had to stop him. So he would take the jacket. So like I was like, hey, that jacket's for you. And he was like, what? And I was like, hey, the jacket's for you. And I like put my hand on his shoulder. And then I had this like moment where I was like, this man is so much bigger than me. And I know that that's like obvious and stupid, but like you have to understand, in my life, it's rare that I am truly outsize classed. Like true, like I see people who are taller than me sometimes. I see people who are wider than me sometimes, but just like it is rare that I meet someone who I would fit inside of the outline of them in like every dimension. You know what I'm saying? Like, like I am both narrower and shorter and thinner front to back than that person. That dude is built like freaking Thanos. It is unreal. It was very cool. He clearly got emotional up on the stand. I don't know if he was crying, but he had like a little there was a catch in his voice. Jordan Davis, my fellow redcoat, someone I am proud to call a fellow redcoat, who I don't know. I mean, in the history of the band, I don't know if there's been a player that's like more important to the band than Jordan is to us right now.
Hmm.
Um, I this is all sort of discombobulated because like truly I am someone who is pretty laconic a lot of the time in public, and I had if there's a video of me online seeing him, and I have a look of true happiness, like a very stupid smile on my face. But
Uh,
truly like a really uplifting and powerful moment, and I was so happy to have been there. And uh yeah, but Jordan has just been such a good guy to us, and like, win or lose at these SEC championship games or these Sugar Bowl games, or he always comes over and says hello to the band. He comes over and talks to people. Like it's just he's such a cool dude, and I'm so glad that we could do this for him. Like
yeah.
he's the only player who during the dog walk he doesn't have headphones on. He puts his headphones up. He has these big, like the big over ear headphones, and he puts them up on the sides of his head and listens to us play. It's like, come on, man. Like that guy, I would like Jordan Davis. If Jordan Davis murdered someone, there are like 450 random people who would be like, what are we doing? How are we getting rid of this body? Like that is the level of devotion and love for him. Like,
That's a big deal. They would question
yeah,
themselves and consider victim blaming for a moment.
yeah, it would be like, well, he's such a beautiful human that there's no way that person didn't deserve it.
Yeah, they
I'm not
probably
gonna-
deserved it.
So yeah, it was a really cool experience. Jordan Davis is our king. It was a cool moment for us because, I mean, it's cool when, it's obviously good like publicity for us, but it's cool even more than that for like a good person to get the acknowledgement that they deserve, for what they've done. All right, so I'm gonna stop babbling. It was a pretty cool weekend, and I'm still honestly like pretty jacked up about it, and I'm trying
Trying to be cool.
I'm trying to stop gushing about it. All right,
Yeah.
what
I-
was your experience?
Well, it was a Thanksgiving weekend, honestly, and so there wasn't a whole lot of. There was plenty of football, I will say. I mean, had to drive for most of it, so I got to enjoy that on the radio, which was really nice. Drive out to the Gwinnett area to go, visit with Anna's family and do Thanksgiving with them, and it was not a big day for chaos, I will say, in regards to other teams out in the world. But Oregon lost, and that was a pretty wild time. We watched football on and off for the rest of the day, other than this game. But it was really cool to kind of just see the Jordan Davis touchdown, just kind of like a nod towards him, and to give him an opportunity to do something like that. It was a great day just to kind of spread the ball around. This team is super dangerous, and I think that they're peaking at the right moment. It feels like in a lot of ways, like our last episode when you begrudgingly said we're going to say some nice things about Stetson Bennett. I felt like that was very much. This was one of those games where we really leaned into that. I feel like we could say a lot of nice things about Stetson Bennett for this game as well. Overall, it was just a fun game. I think it was really cool. I think it showed a lot about where the programs come from. And I think that one takeaway for me for this game specifically is that I think it's possible to be really good and also care about your players in a way that is meaningful and impactful for them that will last after they leave. And I think that showed in this game because a lot of people try to compare Kirby to Coach Mark Richt. And it's really easy to do that because they're back-to-back coaches and everybody really loved Mark Richt and said he's such a great guy and he develops young men and et cetera, et cetera. I think this was a game where you could say Kirby does that too, and he is leading the number one team in the nation. And I think that showed in this game.
He almost got ran over by the band because he spent so much time, and we were never going to run him over. We were just going to hold pregame. But he spent so much time talking to all the senior parents that the senior ceremony went over time. It was very sweet.
That was very cool. Yeah. This was a neat game. It just felt good to be a fan of this team and be part of this community for this game, and it showed I think in this way in a lot of different ways. But is there anything that we really want to talk about from what the stats could show us? Is there anything meaningful we could kind of look at that we might be able to, apply to future games?
Okay. Is Stetson Bennett? Okay, I'm trying to like control what I say about this. Stetson Bennett, obviously, he is the quarterback. I know this is like a weird conspiracy theory on my part, but I really do think Stetson's going to keep starting, but I think that Kirby is trying to give JT the opportunity to take back the game or just take the spot back. Not trying, but I think the door is more open than people think. Let me put it that way. Stetson against, I mean, look, it's covered up in the score, and it doesn't matter. It's not a big deal, but Stetson had some bad passes, right? Stetson had some moments where he didn't look accurate, and I don't necessarily think that he's going to lose the job, but I do think that he just didn't look crisp in the first couple of drives, and JT didn't look perfect, but he's looking more and more crisp. And I think there will come a moment, and it might not be until like if we're losing a game, and it might not come at all. But I think that I don't think that this quarterback thing is over yet, and it would not shock me to see JT Daniels getting some more run.
Yeah,
now that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that Stetson's not going to be the starter for the rest of the year. I mean, I'm sure he probably is if you were going to handicap it. But I also think that he just doesn't look. He doesn't look as accurate as he should have playing against, let's be honest, like a scrub team.
Mm-hmm. It's true. Yeah. I mean, I think we discussed this in one of the past episodes about how I think that this receiver core does do some cleaning up for Stetson when he doesn't necessarily deliver on the level that we would want, say, an elite quarterback to, I hate saying an elite quarterback, but an elite quarterback would deliver on. And so I think that that's true. It's that does show in these quote unquote scrub games where it should just be plainly obvious to see that this team that we're playing is completely outclassed in every way. And it did in a big way, obviously from the score. But if you dig a little bit deeper into perhaps where those balls landed and how he targeted and what receivers maybe had to do in order to actually catch certain balls, you might see a little bit more of it didn't look as clean and crisp as it could have been. So I think that's very true. However, as you're saying, he's not getting replaced until there's a good reason to replace him. And that's okay. Right? Is that fair to say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, he always says, Kirby says over and over again, who practices best, and it sounds like coach speak, but I do continue to think that it's kind of like, he is still giving JT the opportunity to take I think the opportunity is still there, but you're right. There has to be a reason for it to happen. And I think if Stetson looks as not crisp as he did against Georgia Tech, which I doubt he will, it was a 12 o'clock game against the nobody team. But if he does, I do think that we might see change.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of JT, we saw 4 quarterbacks on Saturday. Is there anything that we want to kind of talk about there? Is there anything that you saw that was exciting? I know Brock wasn't in very long, and that's kind of what we were excited about seeing while watching it, where we were watching it from.
It's really hard to take too much away from it, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
He's, I think I've heard that Brock is maybe having a real like steep learning curve on being a college quarterback, so I really don't think that there's much to take away from it.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, there's not a whole lot more to take away from that. We can slowly segue into a GT preview. What do you say about that?
Yeah, let's do it. I will tell people before we start. What?
I'm laughing about your very first note on the Georgia Tech preview. And you said,
sorry,
I'm going to tell you, and it sounded like you were segueing right into this note that just says, we're going to win this game.
Yeah, look, here's the thing. There's not a lot to say about this game. Georgia Tech, they have some good players individually, but they just don't have any consistency on offense, and their defense is garbage, is actual hot garbage. Their offense has been explosive in the past. They have a decent quarterback.
Nathan is sick.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, guys. Oh, hold on one second. I had a cough.
Uh-oh.
All right, I'm back.
He's back.
All right, so sorry about that, guys. I don't have COVID. I just have some kind of dumb drainage thing. All right, Jeff Sims is their quarterback, who is pretty. They have a pretty good quarterback. He has 60% completion percentage on the year, 12 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Not great. He's taken 11 sacks, 139 rating average. You know, they have their biggest running back is Jahmyr Gibbs, 141 tips on 745 yards, average of 5.3. That's pretty good. They get a little bit explosive in the offensively, but A, they give up way too many sacks, and B, their defense is just garbage. They give up way too many explosive plays. They don't block well. They don't tackle well. This is a game that we predict that UGA will win by about 28 points per, I think, our last model that I looked at, which, you know, I think that we probably won't cover the spread because I think the spread is like 40 right now or something. But I do think that this is a team that we're going to just physically manhandle. I do question, like, if I was looking a little bit earlier at the Winsipedia, and let me pull that back up. So if you think about this, like, rivalry, it's been very one-sided.
Yeah.
Obviously. But it's also been one-sided. It's been in particular one-sided in the last few years. And so, like, I actually question, like I think this team is so good that, yeah, they're going to be ready and they're going to do what they need to do and come out to win. But the last time that UGA lost to Georgia Tech was in Athens in Mark Richt's second to last, or no, sorry, it was in Kirby Smart's first year in 2016. So, is there anybody from that team that is on this team now that has actually lost to Georgia Tech? Because we didn't play them last year. It's been 4 years since we lost to them.
I'm sure there's somebody. There's got to be somebody, I'm sure, but maybe nobody that is
they're
like,
not
necessarily
like
a notable
Julian
name.
Rochester maybe was on that team.
Yeah.
So that's I don't think that this is the same kind of, like, absolute slobber knocker. These two teams don't like each other, or they at least know each other well, and so there's kind of like familiarity breeds contempt kind of thing. Frankly, these two teams were both not recruited at the same level. The players on these teams, they might know each other and they might be friends, but this is not something where it was like Georgia and Georgia Tech were going head to head for a lot of these guys, because Georgia Tech hasn't beaten Georgia in recruiting a lot of the time. I mean, I'm not even trying to pile on Georgia Tech right now. It's just like, I don't know how much this rivalry means to the actual guys on the field. Now, Georgia Tech gets a little punchy and, you know, starts to win, then maybe it will. And now I will say that, you know, as we saw in the George Pickens incident, this team, Georgia Tech team, has historically been a little bit yippy. They have a little bit. They have kind of small dog. They have a little bit of small dog syndrome, and so that might get under someone's skin. Hopefully, no one gets hurt, and hopefully, also George Pickens doesn't, like, pile drive someone's head into a cement wall again. But I don't know how much, like, real acrimony there is between these two teams in terms of history. UGA has won 68 times in this matchup. Georgia Tech has won 41 times. The game was basically played from the inception of these two teams' football programs. First played in 1893. So yeah, I mean, we're gonna beat this team, and, you know, the question is more by how much and whether or not it is close or not, which I don't think it will be.
It will not
I
be.
just think that I just think there's a really big talent gap between these two teams. Like, okay, so just to give you some sort of, like, to help you sort of range find in why, I know that this is not typically something that you hear from me, like this level of confidence against a rival, but, like, I just want to give you guys some, like, sort of, like, we don't have to use if you don't trust our ratings, we don't have to use our ratings. So, like, let's look at SP Plus. Currently, Georgia's number one in SP Plus. Their overall rating is 32.3. They're 32 points better than the average team. Georgia Tech is currently 85th. They are negative 2.7 points below an average team. So this is about a 34-point game in terms of in terms as SP Plus sees it. SP Plus has them at the 72nd ranked offense, the 105th ranked special teams, and the 94th ranked defense. Just by so at 85th, they're 85th in the nation per SP Plus. So just by comparison, currently South Carolina, let's see what they are. South Carolina is currently 71st. Arkansas is 36, right? Like UAB, how about that? 53rd.
Woof.
This is a team that is ranked 20 spots below UAB. This might be the second worst team we've played this year, outside of Charleston Southern.
Ha.
Like we're gonna beat the paint off of these guys' helmets, and it's not because, I mean, it's just basically recruiting. I think Kirby Smart is a better coach than Jeff Collins, but he doesn't even need to be. We could run the frickin' veer, and we would beat these guys. Now we got to come out. We got to show up and do what we need to do and take care of business. And I get it. Like anything can happen, but like I don't know, man. Like the chances of this team having things have to go really, really wrong for us to lose this team.
This ain't it. This ain't the game that we lose. Like, I mean, 2 years ago, they completely switched what Georgia Tech does. Like, until, 2 or 3 years ago, they were still running the triple option as their main offense. And so they've only just begun recruiting for this change of offense. In fact, they probably still have players that were part of that old team who have had to completely relearn everything they started learning with this team. And so, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, I think they're in year 4 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So currently, Georgia Tech is recruiting wise, they're 5th in the ACC, which is not great. They are 22nd overall in the 24/7 class rankings. They finished 2021 recruiting wise. They finished 2021. Oh Lord, outside the top 50. Oh no, 48th, right? So they just finished 2020, I think even lower than that. So Jeff Collins can recruit a little bit. Like top 25 at Georgia Tech is not like awful, but also like you have that top 25 class or that 25th class right now, not even in the program. And your last 2 classes before that were 48th and let's see, 20-something, 27th, something like that. Or no, sorry, if you go back, so 48th and then like 30th, and then there's like a 50 in there. So it's like just the level of talent at these two programs is not comparable right now.
Yeah.
And also Georgia Tech's not playing very well. And I think, you're right. A lot of that is, I don't know if they have fully washed the option out of that offense. And, the thing about option-based teams, triple option-based teams, is that you can have offensive linemen who weigh like 260 pounds or 240 pounds, and it's not a big deal. And you can't if you don't play the option, right? And so I hate to sound nonchalant about this. I really don't mean to be, but like, we're going to beat the hell out of this team.
How much are we going to beat this team?
Oh yeah, I didn't put a prediction thing down here.
That's okay. No, I was really just leading you into your second note about, you said probably by 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna. I don't know what the line is right now. I think it's like 40 something points right now.
Yeah, last I checked, it was 40 points. Which is a lot of points.
I don't know that we'll cover that, but we might. I mean, to me, this feels kind of like a 40 something to 7 kind of thing, where it's like we and the 7 is like because we have the third team in. Jeff Sims is a squirrely quarterback now. He's pretty good, but he gets hit a lot. He's gotten hit a lot playing teams that aren't Georgia's defense, that don't have Georgia's defense.
That is important to know. I want to look at just how much this Georgia Tech defense gives up. ACC is not known for having like a depth of defense in its division, I will say. And I think that stands true as well with this Georgia Tech team. Jeff Sims is out here getting sacked. Actually, not as bad as I thought it would be. He's only been sacked 11 times this year, which is a sack a game.
Yeah, but he runs the ball a lot.
Yeah,
and he gets hit a lot on that.
Mhm.
35 points.
Okay,
is
so
the
it's
spread
come
right
back
now.
a little bit, not a ton, but a little bit. I think this game looks similar to this past weekend's game, which is good for us because, you know, this Alabama team that we're about to be playing in a week is going to have to play Auburn, which, you know, Auburn is not necessarily in a space anymore because of the Bo Nix injury to probably win that game, but those guys are going to hit a bit harder than this Georgia Tech team is. And I think that we're going to have the chance to rest some guys that still need some rest and get in a better situation for next week when, you know, things matter a bit more. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, so that's the whole preview. I mean, I think what I want to see here, if we're talking about what do we want to see, let's keep the injuries to a minimum. Let's stay in shape. Let's rotate guys a lot. Let's try to get Kendall Milton back into the fold. Maybe we can get some snaps for Dominic Blaylock.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try to get some snaps for JT Daniels. Even if you're not going to start him in the SEC championship, you still want to have
Gotta
some
play
snaps for him. Right. So other than that, like, let's have a good day in Atlanta and get the hell out of here. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. I hate to be reductive, but it's just like I think
It's
we're
true,
gonna get the
though.
shit out of this team.
Yeah. Let's just move. Let's make it happen. Let's get through this weekend with little to no consequences, and you know, look forward to the following weekend. Is really the big thing. This is also a great point in the show for me to say that we're going to actually cut away for a moment before we go into our Ask CBC segment, so that you can hear from. We have a friend of the show, a friend of the pod, Ross Rutledge, who's going to talk a little bit about the statistical model that we've been putting together. I say we. I have no actual input in this whatsoever. This is all Ross and a small team of listeners and people that know way more than Nathan and I. Nathan has been involved in some of those talks, of course, but Ross will tell you all about CBCR2 and how we got there in this next segment.
Yeah, let's do it.
Proprietary information and stats.
I don't think it's even really that proprietary. We're pretty open
It's not,
about how
yeah.
we do it.
Yeah, not at all. It is interesting to hear how it all works.
So great to hear from Ross.
Wow, I can't believe that went so well. We spent all that time doing
Wow.
that, didn't we?
Ross is really cool. What a great conversation we all just listened to. Like,
Wow, we all
right?
did that together, right? That was all
We
of
all
us.
did that right now. Yep. Crazy.
Movie magic, ain't it fun? So now let's get to our favorite segment of the show. You know the one. It's the one that's called Ask CBC. You know, people can send us in some questions. We answer those questions. They get them to us through a method that could be social media. They could get it to us through Gmail. They could get it to us through just asking Nathan or myself the question, and you could hear it on the show during this segment. Talking is apparently difficult, and I have gone into a strange a strange way of speaking for the rest of the show.
I'm not a speech therapist, but I think I just have to like let you get it out of your get it out of your system.
I'm having a stroke. Could somebody call the ambulance? Anyway, first question comes from Christy in London. Boom. Which of the Georgia roster, present or recent past, most give you Nathan, the impression that you could see them coaching at a high level in, say, 2045? 2045 is 24 years from now. Who's going to be in their mid-40s coaching?
I think Jordan Davis is a really smart guy. I could see him. I mean, I think he's going to play in the NFL, but I think he's going to be a really good coach. I think that I also think there's some like sneaky names that you wouldn't think of. Like, I think Justin Scott Wesley could really coach. He's a weird guy, but he's like super cerebral, super smart. I think that, I mean, the obvious answer I think is Jake Fromm, who I think would be a pretty good quarterback coach, like good quarterback, has the right sort of background and name and lineage. And I mean, I think he's probably pretty good at it. It's always someone you don't expect. A lot of times it's like inside linebackers. Like I know Christian Robinson went on to be a pretty good coach at Florida. I mean, I could definitely see someone like, Monty Rice. I actually think could do it too.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, but I think Fromm is probably the odds-on favorite.
Okay.
Hey, can I just pause this? Can we talk about Christy in London real quick about the experience that we had with them earlier today?
Absolutely.
we were both sitting here prepping our production in our Discord chat with no one there, and then all of a sudden, like a beautiful English. I'm not going to try to identify what type of English accent it was, but a beautiful English accented voice descended on us from the heavens, like he was like Henry
Out of
the
nowhere.
Fourth. Yeah, like a wee brave few just out of nowhere saying hello to us, and I thought we were being pranked, but no, it was Christy in London, who has a beautiful, rich English accent. And I don't know why. I just assumed that he sounded like the rest of our dumb yokel asses, but he doesn't, and it just
That
makes
was
me
not
feel
true.
like this whole server is so much more refined. All right, next question.
Christine London also asks, I enjoyed your list of 5 most hated SEC teams. So, what are your 5 most hated out of conference teams, and what specifically do you hate about them? Well, Clemson for me is number 1. I just got to say off the dome.
Mm-hmm.
Hate Clemson. Hate them. Don't like them at all. Also, don't like Ohio State. Don't like them. Never have, never will.
Mm-hmm.
Who else you got?
Yeah, so Clemson would be on my list because I think they're a little bit Auburn for me, a little bit too, a little too like Bible study, but not in the cool way Bible study, not in a like, wow, this really changed my life and I'm really made some like transformative thoughts about ethics and morality Bible study, but like, wow, these people are awful and own a very big home in a country club Bible study
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. I also am not a huge Ohio State fan based on the interactions I've had with their fans. They tend to be real fighty, which I respect on the one hand, but it's like a weird kind of Midwestern
It's a place and a
bad
time.
tan fighty. Yeah, well, it's also just like their tans are really bad and their hair's bad and they're all gelled up and it's like every Ohio State fan is like has too much of a tan and their face is like really tight. Like everything's like real pulled back, you know?
It's like
it's like
the UF of the
when you get
Midwest.
yeah, when you get your ass kicked by a bunch of LSU fans who at least know it's going to be like sloppy and smell like bourbon or whatever, and it's like, yeah, that's like home to me. You know, like I know what that is. And this is like, it just looks like getting in a fight with a Ohio State fan is like watching a Jamba Juice have sex with a Sunglass Hut. It's like what the hell are we? It's like a mall from the early 2000s that shut down and turned into a fan.
At least we got pretzels, I guess.
Yeah. Also, let me see.
Notre Dame.
Man, I got so much hate for the SEC. I'm indifferent about Notre Dame. They were
I
really
hate Notre
nice.
Dame.
Notre Dame's ban was really nice to us when we
That's
went to Notre
fine.
Dame. Let's see. I don't really have a lot of the hate outside of the SEC. I'm not a huge. Trying to think about it. I'm not like a super huge Texas guy. Man, do I hate Georgia Tech? Just thinking back about that, man. Let me just walk back around. Georgia Tech's number 1 with a bullet, and then Clemson, and then yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. Like, not real big on Michigan State either. We played them in the Capital One Bowl, and that wasn't like a super great experience. Not a huge UCF guy either, but I don't know. Like, I just hate everyone around us so much that I don't have time for anybody else.
We'll throw Liberty in there too, just for good measure.
Oh shit. Okay, yeah. Liberty, Wichita State. Those two for just purely like philosophical reasons.
Oh yeah, just petty religious reasons.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how you can like, you know, I can tell you my brother is a dumbass because it's my brother. It's one of those situations like I'm allowed to.
Yeah.
Because I was raised that way.
Yeah.
Last question from Chris D. Oh, buddy. Suppose the rumors that Jeff Collins has been preparing Tech to play us rather than their next opponent all season. Wait, hold on. I read this way out of the way that it's written. Suppose the rumors that Jeff Collins has been preparing Tech to play us rather than their next opponent all season happen to be true. How much difference would that make? Could it turn us from a 5-touchdown favorite to a 1-touchdown favorite? I do not think that is the case.
No. And I don't think it would make a huge difference, but also if that's the case, he should get freaking fired.
Mm-hmm. If this is the only game he was looking to win, yeah, that would be real bad.
Yeah.
Kyle Sargent asks, this is a fun one for you. Are the newer Timothy Zahn Thrawn books worth reading? Do they hold up to his previous EU works? This is a Star Wars question, y'all.
I think they're good. I don't know that they're as weird as the first 3 were. They're good. They're well written. Timothy Zahn's a very, very like technically good author. Like he really can write a sentence. and that's not faint praise. Like a lot of authors can't. Uh, but they don't have the element of just like, hold on, so this guy has blue skin, but he's maybe an alien, or maybe he's like genetically modified. But, oh, he's an alien, and he just came out of nowhere. And it's just like the first Timothy Zahn novels are just so wacky, and they kind of like integrated it back into the actual canon of the universe, which I understand they had to do, but made it a little bit more boring for me. But I would say read them, yeah.
Do it, do it, do it. Read the book about the blue man. Broboma. Broboma. I like saying it as many different ways as we can. Asks, whose house do we vandalize for Bronk not making it? That's Brock Bowers not making it to the best tight end.
The semifinalist
Finalist pool,
award
yeah.
for the
Mackey?
semifinalist for the Mackey Award, which goes to the best tight end. I don't think we have to
confused
vandalize
too.
anybody's house. Someone suggested vandalizing the Nissan Heisman house, and that sounds great to me. But we should be like embarrassing people because like he should have been. He's one of the top 3 tight ends in the nation.
I'm
All right.
confused why he didn't make it. Yeah, what is the
Yeah.
criteria that he didn't check off this list? Irked Russell asks,
don't
can
know.
you rank your personal hate for Tech, Auburn, and Florida?
When I first read this question, I thought something deeply brutal, and I did not think it with malice in my heart. I just thought this, and like I don't know that I've ever been this mean to a rival before unintentionally. Like I almost feel bad about it. Like the first thing I thought was, well, it's obviously Florida, and then there's a little gap, and then it's Auburn, and then there's a huge gap, and then it's Georgia Tech. Because I don't really hate Georgia Tech or Georgia Tech fans. Like the first college football games I ever went to, were at Grant State at Bobby Dodd Field. And like I was never a Tech fan, but I just went to a bunch of Tech games because we had a family friend that was a Tech fan. But I guess like, I've had some bad experiences with Tech fans, and they can, Tech fans when they beat Georgia, they get like way out their ass, But if anything, I have kind of like empathy for them because it's like, I remember a time in my life where I like had this big part of my life that I had a lot of insecurities about, and I would do like anything for people to think that I was cooler than I actually was. And I was trying so hard to be a person that I wasn't. And like that's just like a really stressful, sad way to live your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so like when I see a Tech fan talk shit, I'm not even angry. I just see like a grim reflection of like who I was at 17, and I'm just sad for him, I'm not even like, I don't even have any hate for him. I'm just like, man,
It's
I'm
exhausting,
sorry
it
that-
sounds like.
I'm sorry that things turned out for you the way that they did, that now you're sitting here yelling at me down 45-0. That must suck that now you have to experience this. And like for me, I needed to like mature and be in a relationship with someone who would validate my strengths and call me on my weaknesses. But I don't know what the answer for Tech fans is. Like, be a basketball fan? Like, I don't know, man. There's that whole like don't, the whole like meme of I don't think about you at all. Like the like Mad Men meme for Georgia Tech. And it's like, I guess that's true. Like, I don't really think about the Tech game unless we're playing them. But it's not that like I think they're insignificant. Like, I enjoy beating that ass, but it's just like, y'all, it's just sad, man.
Get
it's
a
just
hobby.
sad at this point. Well, like, just like
Sit
show
down.
some life. It's not. Do you think it's fun for us? Like, yeah, it's fun when we win 45-0, and yeah, I enjoy sort of sucking the life out of their stupid B suit student section, but it's like it's the same story every time, y'all. Like the Georgia Tech rivalry, it's been like it's the same episode of Dragon Ball Z, and we've been on the same fight for a whole season, y'all. Can you start recruiting or something? Can you show some life? Like, what are we doing here, guys? This is a team that Georgia Tech once ruined their whole season. They had a fake offense they were running the whole year in the 1900s, and they threw it out, and then they had a separate offense just for Georgia, just to beat Georgia. That was what Georgia Tech did. Georgia Tech would drop like 80 on Georgia in the 1800s and the 1900s just because they could, and they just hated us. But I respect that. I respect the pissiness. Like, where's the Steve Spurrier? Like, yeah, sure. There's part of me that wishes that we could just like make all our rivals like turn their turn their stadiums into giant outdoor community gardens. And like, yeah, I guess that would be great if Georgia Tech did it. But if we're gonna start playing this, we're gonna start keep, you know, if we're gonna keep playing this game, like you have to stop being Vegeta. Like, you have to represent an actual threat. Right now, we're just like yelling at each other, and then we're Goku, and we just like hit you once, and it's like, oh, well, that was kind of anticlimactic. We just did 10 episodes on this stupid arc, and it was just us yelling. Like, show a pulse. Christ on the cross, y'all.
All right.
All right, that's all I got.
Do you still want to do this poem at this senior day poem you said in the troll corner?
Yeah, we can do it in the troll corner.
Okay. We have a Patreon segment, Nathan Derulo, which is what I've never actually said for some reason, and I'm ashamed.
Oh my god.
Nathan Derulo.
Nathan Derulo has been around me since I was like in junior high.
I'm so sorry I've never done this for you. I've never brought this back, this
Fritz?
personal trauma.
My brother calls me Nathical Fritz. I don't know why. Anyway,
We have
this
I
Patreon
assume
segment
this
is my personal hell.
Is
This is
it?
from Abby.
This one's from Abby. Yeah. So we have a Patreon segment. We have a tier that if you pay that tier, we will do a segment for you in the show. And this is exactly what we're doing. And so what this segment is this. So we have a small channel in our Discord, which I think is very funny, for the literal Disney dogs, people that went to Georgia and worked at Disney for a time. And I think there are exactly 2 people in our Discord channel that this channel belongs to. But part of that is all of the crazy shit that happens in Disney World, both as a visitor, but also as somebody that works there. And so Abby would like to ask for us to, let's see, we're going to do a rundown of the Disney Star Wars Hotel Vacation and absolutely how crazy it is, because we have here in front of us a sample itinerary and the cost for each person that has to go through this. And I'd just like to kind of see what we think about it, because it is, and I quote, $3,800 per person. What does that get you, Nathan? Do you know? Would you like to know? Because
Okay,
once you get on
so-
Mr. Bones Wild Ride, you do not get off of Mr. Bones Wild Ride,
Yeah.
essentially.
So this is what is this called? Like the Disney Star Cruiser? I think that's what it's called. It's Disney Star Cruiser. Hold on, let me make sure. So what this is it's like a sealed. It's called the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser, and it's like a sealed experience inside of the Disney like campus, the Star Wars campus. And once you get on, you can't leave. Now, first of all, from the outset, let me just say, fuck all of that. I don't like being in contained areas to begin with.
Uh-huh.
Second, you are on some kind of weird dystopian like sci-fi cruise from hell schedule from top to bottom. Do you have this pulled up right now?
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it, and it is a tight schedule. Let me just say, it's a 3-day schedule. Day 1 starts at 1 p.m. You arrive, and then from there it's like increments of 15 to 30 minutes in between each of these sessions, or I'll call them sessions. From there it says 1:15 to 1:30, launch pod to Star Cruiser. 1:45 to 2:15, ship orientation. 3 to 3:30, light refreshments, and then you get into the real Star Wars shit. It starts with sabacc lessons, which is essentially the card game of choice in the Star Wars universe. Why there is only one game in the Star Wars entire universe, beyond me, but that's the one they've chosen to play.
There are 2 sets of rules for sabacc, depending on if you're going with the Knights of the Old Republic rule set, which is more like a betting game, or the like sort of canon divergent. Well, there are 3 sets. The EU rules, which is like sort of like Yu-Gi-Oh kind of thing, and then there's like I think the new canonical rules, which are more like stupid poker. But sabacc is actually
is ludicrous, and it continues to go on. You get some lightsaber training, you get some droid racing, you get build model ships. There's a sabacc tournament. You had lessons the previous day, and now you're at odds with your opponents in a tournament. And they drop you off in the wilderness somewhere, like 20 miles from where you need all of the like feelings and parts of being an actual danger, and you pay like $15,000. Also, questions
we
and
like
we can
move?
answer them.
Can we can we upload this PDF as images? Because Yara's first attempt at this was definitely, I could tell, like a rough draft, and they have like turned this into a real art form
Truly.
on this call. So if you want to put this up as an image, we will retweet it because it is gorgeous, my dude.
Awesome Saturday was. Describe your game day in 3 words. Go.
I'm gonna steal their words, which would be Davis for Heisman or
Yes.
JD2 NYC if you prefer the abbreviated.
I love fellow Redcoat and our running back.
They hate Georgia fans are earned, so don't make it worse.
That's true. Yeah, tailgating's what you make it, but be sweet.
Also,
Okay,
if
SEC.
you're asking whether it's good or well, it's well because well describes a verb, and you're using tailgate as a verb. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, SEC championship versus Alabama. What do I need to know? I can already feel the hatred towards 5'7" devil Nicholas Saban coursing through my veins, but need to know why.
So
Ride that wave.
yeah, so obviously you could just hate them. I'm not sure if they're asking why should we hate Alabama or what do I need to know about Alabama. So I guess both. So why should you hate them? Well, UJ fans have gotten hurt by Alabama a lot, and Alabama has had some pretty remarkable comebacks against us and broke our heart in national championships and in SEC championships and recruiting, and just they are the obstacle. They're the final boss. Jesus, guys, sorry. This year they are pretty good on offense. They're very good on offense. They have a lot of skill position talent. They have a very good quarterback in Bryce Young, but they're just okay on defense. They've just sort of an average defense. In the past, Bama really had both. They were get you the team that can do both. That was them. So they're a little more vulnerable this year, but they are and will be until we beat them the final boss for Georgia forever. Until we cannot take the next step that we need to take until we beat them, and we haven't done it. We haven't beat them since 2007. I was there as a student, a sophomore in college, the last time we beat Alabama, and you know that I am like 85. It's been a while.
This man is literally so old. Okay, great news. My sister, a freshman in high school, is the starting kicker for my alma mater's varsity football team. How do I sound smart while supporting her at a football game?
Well, I will give you the same.
Some buzzwords.
Yeah, I will give you the same advice that I have. My friend Peter has never watched a football game, and is very proud of never having watched a football game. He's not mean about it. He just doesn't know what's going on. And we had a teacher that was a football coach that we worked with named Jeremy. He was a great guy. And Jeremy said, if you want to sound smart talking about a football game, you just go, man, the offensive line. You don't identify whose offensive line or whether it's good or bad. You just say, the offensive line. Or
The offensive line.
How about the offensive line? Because basically the game is won in the trenches every time. And at the high school level, it's really true. Like if one team can't block, that's the game. Now, if you want to talk about high school football, the two things you want to do are, man, the offensive line. And two, in high school football, oftentimes there's like a man-child on the field who is like an obvious D1 recruit who is like, like obviously is just like, having ridiculous runs and throwing the ball 80 yards down the field. Or if they're a wide receiver, they have like 3 touchdowns. And then you just got to be like, oh man, this kid, I wonder who's recruiting him. And then you're good.
That's it. That's the news. My suggestion is always, how about them boys, huh? Just some open-ended questions. But I really like your suggestion of the offensive line. Sounds smart. Thinking so much about bowl games, which one is better, cotton or orange? Who do you think we will face? And will my new fave bestie George Pickens be there? Also, do Redcoats get to pull a Florida since it's NYE? Still mad at myself for being out of commission during Florida and want to make up for it.
All right, so I'm not going to answer that last question on air. Yara, we can talk one-on-one. In order for the rest of the questions, cotton and orange are about the same. The word better is subjective. It just depends on your situation, where you want to go. Either way, it tends to be pretty swanky for the football team or for the band. Like the playoff pays out, so it's usually a really nice hotel. per diem is pretty good. Usually they send you somewhere like to do some kind of activity, like send you to an arcade or go-karts or whatever. I think George Pickens will probably be there and play. I think he's getting closer and closer. And I think we'll probably play some mixture of like Notre Dame, Ohio State, or Cincinnati, depending on how things work out.
Did you answer the Oranger Bowl or Oranger Cotton? Which one is actually better? Just
It doesn't
Up
matter.
front.
I mean, it just depends on where you want to go. I mean, for
for me, yeah, it's usually 2 or 3 ingredients, something like that. Don't go. This is the secret. It's kind of like when you go to the Publix and you get a pub sub, and you can get the Publix brand deli meat and cheese, or you can pay like $1 more and get the boar's head. Same thing with a very generally okay time, but maybe a bad time. Or you can pay $1 or $2. Ask if the bartender looks like they're having a good time and they're not super busy. The bartender looks like they're having a good time and they're not super busy. Ask them what they like. If you have a liquor in mind, don't ask them like, make me your favorite, but say, I love blank.
a cocktail bar, a very similar thing. A lot of times, if you go to a cocktail bar, not as many people. Usually, they're not slammed. If they are slammed, you want to just order something off the menu. Order something that looks good. They've made it 1,000 times. It's gonna be good, right? Anything on most cocktail bar menus, like their drinks of the day, in to the drinks are starting. Mint julep, but it's very good, very easy to make, and you will feel very like a fancy boy when you drink.
Can I hear a poem for this historic win?
Yeah, I'm gonna read the first couple of stanzas from a poem from a Swedish poet named Nils Sjöberg. Couple of
Hit me with
stanzas
it. Want to see us out?
Yeah. This has been Chapel Bell Curve. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, and pretty much anywhere you can subscribe to a podcast, including Spotify. You can get in touch with us on Facebook by searching Chapel Bell Curve, by email at chapelbellcurve@gmail.com, and on Twitter and Instagram at Chapel Bell Curve. If you want to support this podcast, we would love if you would give us a rating or review wherever you leave ratings or reviews. I think the best place to do it this weekend is probably somewhere in the varsity bathroom or on Apple Podcast or Spotify or whatever. If you really want to support the show, we would love if you would find us over at Patreon at patreon.com/Chapel Bell Curve. For as little as $1 a month, you can be part of a great community over at Discord, and we have different levels that unlock different tiers, that unlock different levels of rewards that we can give to you, including you can have your own segment on this show. So we will catch you in the North Avenue Trade School's erector set of a poorly designed architectural nightmare this weekend. But until then,
Go Dogs!
now I got to go make a sundae for my wife because she had a bad day, and I bought her Tillamook ice cream.
Hell yeah, you did.
I will see you guys later.
Tillamook ice cream, Tillamook ice cream.
Very good.
Make sure you eat the Tillamook ice cream.
Yep. All right. You see y'all.
Bye, everybody.